Welcome to Spotlight on Strength, the podcast that shines a light on the incredible members of our iDigFitness committee and community. I'm your host, Amanda Swanson, and in each episode, we'll get up close and personal with one of the members of our iDigFit fam. We'll share real stories, swap ideas, and spotlight the moments that keep us going strong. This is your chance to connect, celebrate, and be reminded that we're all in this together. So grab your headphones, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. This is Spotlight on Strength. All right, guys, thanks for tuning back to another episode of Spotlight on Strength. This week, we have a super inspirational person with us. Would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah. Hey, everyone. I'm Kristy Brinkerhoff, also known, you'll see me around as Kristy. I am from the what they call 6C, which is the Orofino Clearwater Valley area in the base of the Idaho Panhandle. After about 5 years away from this area, we returned to purchase a small farm. We currently raise horses and kids in the middle of the Camas Prairie. And as crazy as it sounds, we are surrounded by about 100,000 acres of farmland as far as the eye can see. I think I have 3 neighbors that I could see, each about a mile away.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a dream.
Just the way we like it up here. I am the supervision manager, K-12 here at IDLA, and I'm happy to share that I have been a member of iDigFitness since 2022.
Oh, awesome. So what drove you to join our iDigFitness community and then committee? Did you join the committee straight away, or tell us a little bit about what drove you to get involved with us and stay involved?
Well, I'm happy to say that I didn't know I was joining the committee. I thought I was joining the iDigFitness challenge, and I just happened to raise my hand to join the committee at the same time. And I've enjoyed Yes, I've enjoyed every bit of it. It really spoke to my passion for personal improvement and self-development. I'm always looking for ways to be a better person all around. And excuse me, the fact that iDigFitness focus on all domains of well-being and self-care was very intriguing and inspiring to me. And so, like I said, I thought I was joining a one of the challenges, and I ended up on the committee, and I've been really happy with it since.
You're like, this is the longest challenge I have ever joined, you guys. Like, it's going on for years.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you're doing
it any other way.
So speaking of inspiration, like what inspired you to join and everything, do you have a quote that inspires you or keeps you working towards your fitness goals?
I don't know if I could say it's really a quote, but a phrase or a saying that I keep hearing that resonates with me is consistency is key. Over the last few years, I have utilized a dashboard, and it's evolved over time, but really the intention is to identify the small things that you can do every day and be very intentional about getting them done and monitoring. So I have a pretty lengthy list of 20 minutes of reading every day, 20 minutes of knitting every day, 20 minutes with my horse, whatever tasks that I want to make sure that I pay attention to and get it done for that day. I have that listed on my dashboard, and it's not only motivating as I start my day to review what I plan to do that day, but also as I check those little boxes, makes me feel accomplished, as well as it keeps me consistent. And that phrase really I keep coming back to is consistency is key.
Yeah. So more of a mantra than like an inspiring quote or anything.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I love that though. And I really like that you talked about the dashboard, because I think it was you actually that found the cool planner that's like the week-long planner after our book study, our uptime study.
Yes. And there's a wide variety of vendors that put out dashboards, but the one that I use is called Ink and Volt. and it allows you to customize it based on what are your professional goals for the week, as well as what are your personal goals for the week, and then that daily tracker, as I mentioned.
Well, right now, Kristy, what are your personal fitness goals?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I have gone through what I would refer to as a journey. Early in my 20s, I decided I was going to be a runner. I would say mid 20s, probably. Having little to no experience, it actually, my only reference point was the mile that we were forced to run in junior high and high school, and never
I feel
making the goal, the time goal, and absolutely dreading it every time I knew it was coming around. But for some reason, I was just inspired to start running. And so I started slow, and I tell people this story all the time. Removing the barrier of being ready to work out or ready to run in the morning was my saving grace. So I would have all of my equipment, all of my gear ready, and just jump out of bed and get ready to go. And again, I come back to that consistency is key. Although I didn't know that back then, just making it happen every single day in small distances over time, I was able to accomplish running several half marathons as well as a full marathon.
Oh
And
my
just
gosh, that's amazing.
completing that goal inspired me to continue to find something that was challenging but doable, remove the barriers, and just stay with it every single day. Well, as I got older, as many of you probably can relate with, I couldn't outrun the amount of food I wanted to eat anymore. And so
Those
I
darn
had
holidays and
I know. So I had to find another way to balance, not only wellness and nutrition, but fitness. And I became intrigued with weightlifting and strength training. And my fitness goals have really transitioned to just maintaining strength and flexibility, as well as endurance throughout my lifetime. Coming in the early 50s, I know that I want to be able to stay as strong and active as I am today, well into my 80s, hopefully my 90s, who knows. And
yeah,
ultimately, my husband teases me because we talk about what are we going to do when we can no longer get up on our horse. And
yeah.
so I don't ever want that day to come. So I want to be able to stay fit and healthy, and for all the right reasons, my own well-being, being active and present with my family, but also ultimately still being able to get up on my horse when I'm 80.
I love that so much. I really do. And also, I feel like that mirrors so much. My grandma is like one of my favorite people in the entire world, and that's always been like her goal. Like she's done lots of different things over the years, from way back in the day when I remember her as like a bus driver, and she would go on her power walks like with her dogs and all this stuff. They had horses and goats and all kinds of stuff, and that was always just her main goal in life was to remain independent and like strong enough to do things on her own. And I am so proud to say that on Saturday she turned 90 years old and she still lives in her own house, and she doesn't have the full farm anymore. She's downsized to a pet dog, but it's definitely an obtainable thing. Like you said, when you're just consistent that little bit every day.
I admire your grandmother. I aspire to be like her one day.
Oh my gosh, me too. Me too. So speaking of my favorite person, do you have any favorite like fitness apps or channels, podcasts, anything like that that you kind of fall back on or that you've been hooked on lately?
Absolutely. Over time, of course, I've been following the shiny penny of the latest, greatest, either trainer or app. And I found myself always coming back to what is now called Body, BODI, but it is also known as the original Beach Body, and it's an app. And the reason I find myself coming back to it, it's very customizable depending on how I'm feeling for the day. But it also has programs that help you stay motivated and know what to do, not only with strength training, but also if you're working on another area of fitness. So I would say I'd highly recommend. I have no affiliation other than it's been very effective for me. but just really enjoy the customizability as well as the flexibility.
Yeah, that's really cool to know. Okay, so our super fun, like, use your imagination kind of question. So, Kristy, if you could turn any daily chore into a calorie burning workout, which one would it be?
Well, as I thought about this question, I keep coming back to something with a little bit of jest. There's a little humor in this, but also, truly, if I had this superpower, I would make it so making breakfast for my 5 teenage kids every morning is the ultimate workout. I'm sure I burn calories because that's a lot of pancakes to flip.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I feel so blessed working with IDLA and being able to work remote and make breakfast for my kids every day. Not everybody has that opportunity. So I feel like it's a blessing. But then there are some days I'm like every single morning
Right?
making breakfast. So it'd be nice if it could be the ultimate calorie burning workout as well.
I agree. And isn't it crazy how they expect to be fed like literally every single day, multiple times a day?
Every day, yes. And as
Wild.
you can imagine, I have 4 teenage boys. And so the
Oh my
amount of food
God.
that they go through is unbelievable.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
We are now to the point where we typically go through at least a loaf of bread a day, 18 pack of eggs, the gallon of milk. Those things are daily staples around here.
That's wild. We'll be there before I know it, I'm sure, but oh my
Yes.
goodness. Yeah. So it sounds like they're thriving.
Yeah, they are. They're healthy as you can imagine.
Right?
It's
So your kids are thriving. Which area of your overall wellness do you feel like you're thriving the most? Do you feel like it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual?
years ago, I had an opportunity to become a Stephen Covey 7 Habits trainer. And I spent a lot of time focusing on the 4 domains of wellness and being intentional about learning something new often, making connection with family and friends, and just that emotional well-being and that spiritual well-being. I've already talked about the physical well-being, just that intentionality. uh, they say recommend 3 to 4 times a week you work out. In my opinion, I try to get something physical intentionally done physically every single day, on top of making breakfast for my 5 kids. And
Right.
yes, and so I truly feel like probably where I'm thriving is my focus and ability in staying balanced in those 4 domains and the intentionality around it. And again, I come back to the small um, tasks every single day. Instead of thinking I want to sit down and read this book or get through 5 chapters, it's I want to read 20 pages or I want to read for 20 minutes. And it's the same thing with making sure I'm connecting with my family or my friends. I have a task every single day. I can't really call it a task because it's more of a treasure. But in the last few years, I taught my dad how to text, and he's, mid 70s, and it's a bit dangerous now because he really, really loves to text and he really loves emojis.
Oh
So
my
you never know
goodness.
what I'm gonna get. But every single day, I am just really intentional about texting him or making that phone call to an aunt or to a cousin. And I truly think it's that balance of being intentional and not living by default, but living by design. And it's a little cliche, but it certainly works for me. And I mentioned the dashboard earlier. Every Friday, and you'll find it on my calendar. I have check-in time at the end of the day on Friday, and I review my dashboard, and not just did I get all my tasks done or what didn't I get done and what do I have to move to next week, but more how did I do this week of staying balanced and staying connected and my personal well-being. How did I do with being present with my family? And so just that intentionality around monitoring where I'm spending my time and what I'm doing with that time. And is it having a positive impact, adding to my well-being, or is it taking away? And then my focus on how do I move the needle for the next week in a positive direction based on where I was the previous week.
Yeah. No, I love that. I like the idea of taking taking that little bit of time to kind of like, we always end up relating things back to like military terms. So all I could think is like debrief at the end of your week.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember hearing about was to focus on your victory list. So look at your to-do list, and we're so apt to be like, oh my gosh, like I still didn't mail that box. It's been on my list all week. Rather than being like, look at the other like 27 things I did cross off my list. Like, and just like flipping that script at the end of the week and making it more of like a look what I did accomplish. Cause I take a minute like at the end of the week to just make sure I have everything crossed off. And then on Monday, I'll go back and set my week up. Like that's my first 15 minutes of my Monday is like to fill out my planner, like my dashboard thing for the week. But I really like that idea of I might have to weave that little bit of reflection time in on Friday to just like be like, look at all you did. Like,
And I used to be a deficit thinking person in regards to what didn't I get done? What didn't I accomplish? Or what did I do wrong? And one of my hobbies is training Mustangs. And as I learned to train, I would focus on the list of skill sets. Like, what did the horse have to be able to do in order to be accomplished in this task or in this area? And that was exhausting, and it was defeating. And especially for somebody who was a new trainer working with wild horses, there was a lot of room for error. And just in the beginning, there's way more mistakes than celebrations. And so to have that mindset of always looking for what they're doing wrong, it was just overwhelming and exhausting. And I would say probably in the last probably year, the focus in the horse training world has flipped to focusing on the celebrations, the victories. What did they do right? Even if it's one thing they did right, that's a thing they did right. And so really, instead of checking off all the errors or the negative things that happen, you just ignore that list and you focus on, out of these 10 things I wanted to accomplish with this horse today, they were able to do 3 correctly. And that's what we focus on. That's the celebration. And instead of trying to reduce the mistakes list, it's more about how do we increase the celebration list. And I think that applies to our own perspective as well. I think as humans, we are naturally deficit minded, like where our shortcomings, where are we doing things wrong? So it takes
but I
some.
mean, I feel like I feel like that's reinforced by our society too, almost, right? Like we live in such a consumerist society, and if you're not lacking something, like what could you need? You know what I mean? So it's just sort of bred into us in so many facets, like external and internal, when you start to talk about it that way. Like,
Absolutely. And it takes some intentionality. And so being clear about what are the things you want to accomplish? What are the celebrations? What are those things at the end of the week that you can feel good about? Because if you focus on the not done list, again, it gets overwhelming and you feel defeated. And it's a little bit, it's kind of like I don't want to look forward to Monday. Yeah, I want to avoid Monday because it just is reminding me of all the things I haven't accomplished. When you flip that script to, boy, I did really good on these 5 things this week. How do I move that needle again for next week? And it's exciting and it's motivating. But I think you nailed it. It does take some intentionality because our society, and again, our innate human characteristic is to identify faults. And we got to change that thinking. We definitely need to flip that script to, let's celebrate the celebrations and focus on the strengths and our accomplishments versus those things.
we need to talk to ourselves like a friend, or like a wild Mustang, or whatever it is, to help ease the harsh realities sometimes, I think.
Absolutely. And it's that internal voice. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me engaged and active with iDigFitness is there is a well-rounded focus on checking yourself and being intentional about what you're saying to yourself and why you're saying those things to yourself. And then the areas that you want to develop or focus on we have many opportunities through the challenges to pick what works for us and be able to focus on and accomplish these challenges with like-minded people that are trying to focus on the same thing, and quiet that negative voice and focus and develop that those strengths and that internal positive voice that says, it might be hard, I might not want to do it, but one of the things I tell my kids all the time is success is based on doing the things that you need to do when you don't want to do them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's we talk often about we make plans and set goals when we're feeling motivated and excited and refreshed and renewed. And then a week or two, or sometimes a day later, we're not in the mood. And so we fail ourselves and we cancel on our goals or our commitments. And it's that mentality that says, I know this is good for me. I know it's something that I need to do. How am I going to feel when it's done? And then just making yourself do it. It's, the working out. There are many days I don't feel like lifting the 20, 30-pound weights, 12 reps times 3. I really don't want to do that, but I want the results. And so making sure that I'm sticking with it day in and day out, even when I don't feel like doing what I've said I was going to do.
Yeah. No, that makes sense though. That was one thing, Teresa Carter, I love her. She and I were chatting the one day, and she had surgery recently, I think, and we were talking about her recovery, and she said one of her friends had told her, you need to stick to your schedule, like follow your schedule, not your emotions, or something along those lines of like, it doesn't matter how you feel that day, like just get up, do the things that are on your list, on your
Yep.
scheduled like PT or whatever it is, just knock it out and be done with it. Don't follow your heart. Don't follow your emotions. Just follow the schedule.
Yes, just do it. I mean, I know again, you're welcome, Nike, but just do it.
There's no endorsements here, I swear.
It's truly, I would say, one of those phrases that resonates, because if you just, as Teresa said, if you just stick with your plan day in and day out, that consistency will pay off. And over time, it's the January New Year's resolution, um, groundhog every single year, kind of starting
Right?
back over, and you get back to where you started and you didn't get the results that you were hoping for because you didn't stay consistent and you didn't just do it even
Yeah.
when you didn't want to. And it's so much easier to just get the 20 minutes in or get the 30 minutes in and day out versus having to start over every single year or month or whatever it
Yeah.
might be.
No, you're not wrong. I love that. I love that mindset. And I feel like this is like slightly off topic, but I feel like just in our conversation today, like I've enjoyed talking to you so much because I feel like I've always admired you. I've looked up to you because I've always felt like you're such a like grounded and, strong person. Like you're so kind, but you also like have these really like admirably strong boundaries, but like in the gentlest way too. And I'm like, gosh, like how, just it's admirable. And I think in our conversation, I realized that it's you really are like you're very balanced. You have a control over that whole burner theory, which ones need to be on at what times, or the balls theory of, which ones are glass and which ones are plastic. And I think that's really what it is. Like you seem like such a grounded, centered, balanced person. And you can see that like that happiness comes through, but also like your grit and like tenacity comes through too. So this has been
Wow,
such a
this
great conversation.
Well, I have to say that might be the best compliment I've ever received, Amanda. So thank you for that. And I just love having these conversations with like-minded people, right? And I certainly do not have it all figured out. I have over years figured out the balance, right? And keeping a focus on your well-being in all domains has served me well. I still have a lot to learn and a lot to do. And I think that's part of the excitement of this opportunity that we get to wake up every day to a brand new fresh start. and
Right.
figure out, what can I do today to have a positive impact on others, while also balancing taking care of myself. And as educators, as moms, and I think probably as humans, we are certainly have a tendency to be self-sacrificing and run ourselves into the ground trying to prove our worth or prove that we can get the job done. And I think that that's a disservice to not only the ourselves but also the people around us. And so continuing to just have these conversations, and again, I'm going to come back to, maybe this is a plug for iDigFitness, but more than that, I'm going to come back to the value of the challenges and the value of being a part of iDigFitness is giving us the opportunity to have these conversations and learn from each other. How are you staying balanced? What are you doing to accomplish your goals? And even more so, what went wrong for you, and how did you learn from it? So that will help me as I'm on my own journey of trying to keep myself well-rounded and balanced. So it's a great thing to be a part of, because of the people that are a part of it. And IDLA in and of itself is a great place to be,
A
but when you
hundred
also
percent.
have this opportunity to share who we are as humans and our own challenges and our own goals and opportunities to grow and develop, that just makes it even better.
Yeah. And I think almost like it's I dig fitness is almost just like an extension of like all that, almost I don't want to say like all the good parts of IDLA and our strategic leadership, because I think it's all great. But you know what I mean? It's like the fun, we just get to do that. Like we get to take all of the businessy part away from, legislation and budgets and all of this stuff, and just get to like inspire each other and learn from each other. And like you said, like what an opportunity to just share and learn and grow. And I love it.
Absolutely. And I've always been of the mind that if we're well taken care of, well rested, well balanced, we're able to bring so much more to the work that we do, and the impact that
Yeah.
we have on kids and on educators and just in general. So if we're imbalanced or off kilter, or really struggling with well-being in any of the domains, that certainly has a negative impact on our output as well as our input, right? On
Yeah.
what we can contribute. I think we have, we talk about the whole child when we're talking about students, but it's the whole person, right? And that's one of the things that IDLA does so well, is it gives us an opportunity, but also an expectation that we take care of ourselves as a whole in order to be the best we can be, personally as well as professionally.
Yeah. No, I agree. Awesome. Well, I think that we've like ticked all the boxes, right? We plugged for Nike, we plugged for iDigFitness. Did we miss any of our sponsors today?
I'm wondering when the checks are going to come in the
Right?
mail.
Right? Well, lunch is on us next time if we see that money anytime soon.
All right, perfect.
All right. We'll talk to you again soon, Kristy. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Amanda. You have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Spotlight on Strength. We're so glad you joined us and hope you're feeling inspired to keep pushing forward. If you haven't yet, be sure to check out the latest happenings in the iDigFitness Schoology group. And if you're not yet a part of it, what are you waiting for? Send us a request to join. Until next time, keep shining bright and stay strong, friends.